We all have a general understanding of how to jumpstart our cars, but when you're stranded in the Target parking lot in the middle of winter, it can be kind of hard to remember which cable goes where and when. But what we do tend to remember is that if you do it wrong, you're going to fry your car's electronics or blow yourself up. In today's video, I'm going to give you a quick, clear guide on how to safely jumpstart your car. And my advice, bookmark this video for future emergencies, because you know it's going to happen. Now, first thing I do on the dead car is check the battery terminals. Oh, check that out. I promise I did not set this up. Oftentimes, if the terminals are loose, look at that. This will cause your battery to act like it's dead, even if it's not truly dead. And the reason is because this terminal is loose and not getting enough power to the starter, so your starter doesn't fire. So sometimes you can just retighten this terminal and your car will start back up without having to jump start it. But regardless, you want to get this terminal tightened up. Now, obviously, if you're stranded in a parking lot, you may not have any tools. But what you can do in a pinch is just wiggle this and push down really hard. Or if you want to get like a tire iron or rock out of the parking lot and just bang this terminal down on the tapered post, and that will get it tight enough at least to get you home. And don't worry about touching the battery terminals. They're not going to electrocute you, even with a good battery. I made a lot of videos trying, and I still haven't been able to do it. Next, you want to get your jumper cables ready. One mistake people make is buying the absolute cheapest cables they can find. And by cheap, usually I mean thin. Now, if this is the only set of jumper cables you have in the back seat, they'll probably still work, especially if you have a smaller car with a smaller engine. What can happen, however, is if you have a big car with a bigger engine and a bigger starter, it's drawing a lot more power. And these thin cables can't handle as much power going through them. So if you have a big draw, big engine pulling power through these, they're going to get really hot, sometimes maybe even melt. If you haven't bought jumper cables already, fork over to get a little bit of a thicker set. I think these are 6 gauge, and it will allow you to handle a lot more power. One added benefit of getting thicker cables like this is you can actually run a longer set of jumper cables, and that can come in really handy when you can't get the vehicles right nose to nose like this. You can reach farther. Now, essentially what we're doing with jumper cables is connecting the positive terminal from the donor car to the positive terminal on the dead battery. Well, how do you know which terminal is which, positive, negative? Most batteries have the plus and minus signs kind of stamped in somewhere right by the terminal, so that makes it easy to tell. And then a lot of cars have a big red cover over the positive or hot side of the battery. Another telltale sign is that the negative side will often have a big fat black wire that goes from the terminal straight to like the body of the car. It's bolted to something metal. So that can be a way to confirm the negative side. Now the scary part, hooking up the 2 batteries together. Now, if you watch any videos online of how to do this, there's a pretty complex and confusing sequence that you have to hook these up in that tells you which color clamp goes to which battery first, because if you mess it up, you're going to blow up in a huge ball of burning hydrogen. Hey, we're really trying to put out the best possible quality of content that we can, as concise as we can. We don't want to waste anyone's time. If those kind of videos are something that you're into, what you can do to really help us out is subscribe, turn on your alerts, and that will enable us to continue making these. Now, the reason for this complex sequence of hookups is that there is an element of danger. It's pretty rare, and here's how it could happen. If the battery in the donor car is being overcharged or over-discharged, they can release hydrogen gas. So potentially the guy that pulls up next to you to jumpstart you has a battery that's like on its way out and emitting hydrogen gas for some reason. And when you're attaching all your clamps and you go to put on that 4th and last clamp, it's gonna give a little bit of a spark. And if you happen to do that right on top of this battery and there's hydrogen gas right there, it could create an explosion. But as I said, this is super rare. We're like 1 in a million that this happens. But since it is a possibility, we wanna make sure that we're eliminating all chance of that happening. So there's all kinds of like diagrams you can get and little word rhymes that people do. Red is dead, red to dead. They've never helped me remember. So here's what you're gonna do. First, you wanna make sure that your donor car is on, running. Once that's running, you're gonna hook up your cables. If you remember nothing else, red is first. And it doesn't matter which order, it doesn't matter which car you do first, you just hook up the red to the red. All right, simple enough. Next, you're gonna hook up the blacks. You're not gonna put the black cables on the terminals. This is just to make it simple. On both sides, you're gonna hook up the black cables to a part of the car that's metal. Remember how I said that the negative terminal is bolted to the car or the engine, and that makes the entire car the negative side of the battery. So we're just going to find a piece of metal here on the car that isn't painted. Boom. And I'm going to do the same on this side. Again, order doesn't matter. So here's a metal thing on this car. I'm going to give it a little wiggle just to make sure there's no corrosion or anything getting in the way. And now my batteries are hooked up and I can start my dead car. And for those of you that are about to give me grief for not saying you have to do the donor car first with the negative terminal, if you remember from high school chemistry, hydrogen gas, if it is made by the battery, is lighter than air, which means it's going straight up off the battery. So if you happen to make some sparks, even on the donor car, but it's off to the side, there's no way that you're gonna ignite hydrogen gas. It's not like propane that makes a big pool and you're gonna ignite a giant fireball. All right, now all I gotta do is start this dead car up. Now, a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that you have to let the car sit there and charge the battery for 2 or 3 minutes. When actually, if all you did was leave the lights on when you went in the store, the battery's probably not dead enough that you have to do that. One scenario where you might need to let it run for a little while is if your car and battery are significantly larger than the car and battery that are trying to jumpstart you. So if you've got a big truck and a little Honda Civic's trying to jumpstart you, you might need to let that battery charge up a little bit before you start. And as soon as you've started your car, your alternator should take over running the electronics, so you can disconnect the battery. And when it comes time to disconnect the cables, it's just as simple as when you put them on. You're gonna do both blacks, and then both of the reds. And honestly, you can mix it up and do both of the reds first, as long as you're doing one color at a time. If you can remember one thing from this video, it's that red is first, just like this Jeep. And go out and get yourself a good set of jumper cables for each one of your vehicles. And if you enjoyed this video, got some value out of it, you're definitely gonna wanna check out another one we made on the top mistakes people make when installing their batteries.